We could have said the educational institution of black this. Where's the reverence? The most ignorant of Europeans have reverence for American patriotism. They dumb as hell. They never read a book, but they revere it, and they will go to war and fight for it. We lack reverence. We put the ideologies of Christianity and Islam before the reverence of our people. We put materialism and money above the reverence of our people. We wonder why we don't have none. It hurts us to revere another. But we so deep. We got so much scholarship. But all of that scholarship has not brought us into the awakening of being able to perceive the divinity of those who have come among us. It has made us even more blind. We have become more blind and more stupefied with more information. What am I saying? We have to revere ourselves. That produces value. What we collectively hold as valuable will not be destroyed. You don't let what you value be destroyed. We allow ourselves and our people to be destroyed because we have no value for them. We got a lot of knowledge and a lot of information, but we have no sense of value. We have a zero sense of value. That has to change. We have to realize ourselves as being gods and goddesses. Period. But we must get behind one another as gods and goddesses. Some people say, you know, I'm not going to revere no other black man or no other black woman. I'm God. But then they leave that unity of black people to go put their godship behind white supremacy. What are you going to put this God behind if you're not going to put it behind God? What you going to put this God with if you're not going to put it with God? But you say, oh, I'm God. I'm going to be God on my own. What does that mean? That means you're going to put all your divinity behind the white man's institution. That's where is it going to go? So we're not meant to be God to be against God in competition with one another. We're meant to be God to put God behind God, with God, for God, by God, as God. We don't understand that. You definitely need to be God. To be with God, to be behind God, to be for God, so we all can stand as a God against all the forces that are against us. But we get it confused. Because we have become selfish monotheists. Where when we hear somebody else say their God, it messes with our monotheism. Huh? We hear somebody else say their God, it messes with our monotheism. I'm the only God. There's only one place for one God. I'm one goddess. I'm the goddess here. Y'all hear what I'm saying? Where else would a goddess be behind a goddess? Behind a goddess, with a goddess, as a goddess, for a goddess. There's no, I don't see no other place for it. But to be against one another, the anti-self-reverence philosophy that has been pushed by the European indoctrination, the worst place you could be as a god or goddess is around another one. Am I correct? Because you got to have your own, shine your own, right? But who is able to shine their own by themselves? Dr. Malachi York? Yahweh ben Yahweh? What God has been able to shine by themselves against a white race of Greek freak gods and goddesses together? Do y'all hear me? What one individual God or goddess has been able to stand against that? Was the goddess or queen of the Washita Moors able to stand against that? So it's no place for God to be than with God. It's no place for a goddess to be than with God and with a goddess. Am I teaching? But we are intimidated by the power of one another. We're quick to prove how another nigga ain't shit. Because I'm a monotheist. I am the only God and there is no other God beside me. Do you hear me? Follow this. So when I come out and say I'm God, people don't say, I'm God with you, God. They say, are you saying I'm not God? Do you hear me? When another human being realizes themselves, we should be happy. We should be proud when another one of us wake up and realize who we are. But we're not. We're jealous. We're envious. That nigga's ego tripping. You ain't no God, but I am. Secretly. Do you hear me? It sounds funny, but it's really sad. I don't have a lecture where I said Noble is the only God. That there are no other gods. I've never put that lecture out. But the fact that I say I'm God, you understand what I'm saying? That is a challenge to the egotistical conscious community. Right when I say it. Who don't want to go and be among God? Who don't want to go and be among a goddess? You hear me? Because your associations are of like attract. So you should be in association with people that have a consciousness at the level of creating what you want to manifest, right? So if you're around people that do not realize themselves as God, you got a problem. Because when you get in situations and circumstances, you'll find out who realize themselves as God. You'll see the difference. So we should be happy at the realization of one another of our true selves and of who we are. And we should add more God to God. Not take away from God through subtracting ourselves. Can we have too much God here? Can we? Can we have too much God is here? That's the reality. We actually need more. But some people try to subtract. This man talking about God. Subtract that. Not saying I'm God with him. Well, I said, when in the lecture I said, no one says, I'm not going to follow another man. I'm not following nobody. Then I say, well, I'm God with them. They say, well, I ain't going to be with nobody. I ain't with nobody. You got a sandwich though, brother? Are you with me while we eating this sandwich? I'm just saying how silly, you know what I'm saying? I'm just saying how silly we are of how we find, there's no way I can say that I'm divine in 2011 after Willie Lynch. Do y'all hear me? Okay, well, people are with me. Well, I'm with myself, actually. Now, is that rational? Is that logical? We clearly know we are here with one another, but that hurts. It hurts to say I'm with somebody else that realize they're divine. Because their expression may be more dominant. You follow what I'm saying? But we are with one another. And if it was not for the gods of whom and goddesses of whom I'm with, there would be no divinity backing this expression. Do y'all hear me? We need gods and goddesses here. But those entities, those beings, don't have a problem with gods and goddesses. Y'all hear me? So you got people that there should be no gods. They are secretively Hebrews and Christians. No human being is God. You follow? But I'm glad that Yahweh ben Yahweh was God. And Dr. Malachi York was God. You know why? Because they created something as a divine entity that showed an example of our capability. Am I right? So I'm glad that there were gods, because these Christian pastors who believe in a God or teach a God outside of themselves have not gave us an example of being outside of this white man, right? The doctrine and teaching of a God outside of ourselves have not created something for ourselves. It makes us create more outside of ourselves. So when we got a God inside of ourselves, inside of our race, inside of our community, we what? We create something inside of our community. So don't tell me that we don't need a God inside of ourselves. Because all the God outside of ourselves has made us go outside of ourselves. And then we wonder why we don't have sovereignty and have independence. Because we're constantly going outside of ourselves. So that argument is crushed. When we say God, we don't mean the Yahweh of the Torah or Allah of the Quran of these different books. We mean beings of great reverence. If we don't reverence great ideas and great living entities, we will not have great living experiences. Relationships are relative to the reverence that individuals have for one another. Nothing else. Nothing else. When they lose reverence for one another, the relationship is over with. I don't care how many books they read, how many degrees they got, how many scholarships they got, how much money they got, how many cars they got. When they no longer reverence one another, am I correct? It's dead. It's dead. So we have no reverence. Our knowledge makes us think we are smarter than one another. That's not reverence. That's not reverence. We have to have reverence for one another. It should be easy for us because we say we revere the ancestors in our great history. But if great beings come before us, we're quick to say, no, you're not. Let's find the flaws. Now, I was challenged because some people say, well, divinity really has nothing to do. Who a person is really has nothing to do with skin color. Their character, what they made of, has nothing to do with skin color. On some level, they are correct. But on some level, they are wrong. Let me tell you why. Our people act the way they do because the propagandized idea of them is negative. The darker you are, the more of a criminal you are. The more ignorant you are, right? This is propagated massively. So how they act is how they have been educated on themselves. You feel me? So that behavior is not who they are, is what they have been taught about themselves. If somebody you see go in your community and you see billboards of white people and Europeans all over the television and all over that, and all you see are these light-skinned R&B artists and all that, what does that tell the people about themselves? Nigga ain't shit. This is the reality. So, the image of the melanated race has to be changed. This is impersonal, but personal. Why is it impersonal? Because while a melanated person can have some flaws and some issues, right, that they need to grow beyond. This is clear. We're all humans. We have to grow and evolve into reaching different levels of our perfection. The person can have flaws. But when you take the symbolic aspect of that person, which is their racial and genetic identity, and you flaw it all, you feel what I'm saying? And you put you put an image in somebody's subconscious mind that something's wrong with all these people. Something must reverse that. Do you hear me? That means you got to take any melanated person and exalt them. I'm going somewhere. Because the images you see of these white people on these billboards are crazy. If you got to know those people, they got flaws. Am I correct? But the image that has been projected has made the majority of them think what? Highly about themselves. The images that they have projected about us have made us think lowly about ourselves, right? So we must reverse the imagery. It got to be reversed. We can't use that excuse. The minority makes that excuse. You don't have nothing to do with the condition of the people. It do. Well, on an individual to individual level,